morning, everybody. Welcome to Wealth Edit Wednesday. I've got one more week without Lauren here. She's been on vacation, so I've been holding down the fort by myself. And we say this all the time, but it's definitely more fun to run a business with a friend by your side. But anyway, today we have Mandy Moseley from Studio 315. She not only opened the studio here, but she is founder of the method of 315, which is a combination of spin and bar and
strength work.
Strength. I was like, what's the word? I was going to say weight, but I was like, I feel certain that's not the correct term. Strength. And anyway, Mandy has a great story. It's been kind of fun because we realized that we have lots of mutual friends and didn't know each other in Birmingham. So I'm excited to now get to know her and share her with the Wealth Edit community. Your story is very inspiring and just so in line with, you know, what you're doing in fitness is very much what we're trying to do on the Wealth Edit, you know, just to inspire and encourage women to, you know, move forward in whatever it is that we have before us. So thank you for being here today. And I'll let you just kind of take it from here, Mandy, and just share with us a little bit about you and how you've kind of gotten to where you are today.
Yeah, well, thank you so much for having me on here. So you said it, my name is Mandy Moseley, and 315 actually opened, ironically, tomorrow is the anniversary of the first studio we opened in Homewood. And just to give you a little background about me, I have 4 children, 3 boys, and then thank goodness a little girl at the very end that is a bright spot in my life, because those boys have definitely and continue to put me through the ringer. But so I've got 4 children, moved to Birmingham in 2014 because I had recently gotten a divorce. And I'll back up a little bit before that. I graduated from Alabama with a degree in nutrition and went right into pharmaceutical sales and stayed in corporate America until I started having children. And then I stayed home with them for a little while they were young. At that point, when I wanted to go back and start doing something else, I've always been in love with fitness, have always taught. I started teaching when I was in college. So that was always just a part of my daily routine. But I wanted it to become more than that. So I started a boot camp when I was in Montgomery, Alabama, living there. And it was a franchise, and had that for a couple of years. And then we actually moved to where my husband at the time was from. And so I sold it at that point, got back into pharmaceutical sales when we moved because the children were a little bit older at that point. And then we ended up getting a divorce, which is, you know, a little pivot in my story. And so I moved to Birmingham with the children, and I was working in Birmingham at the time. That was my territory for the job that I had, still selling pharmaceuticals, but always dreamed and hoped of having my own studio in a place where I could be a cheerleader for people. And that's something that I've always said, that I feel like we're able to figure out our purpose in life. And when we do that and can live it out, it's just something next level. And that's something that I knew in my heart of hearts that was what I was good at, being a cheerleader for people in the fitness industry. But not only that, but also as a leader to my employees, that I wanted to hopefully one day have, was be able to lead them and encourage them as well. So I ended up getting remarried, fast forward, really checked into opening another franchises because like I mentioned earlier, I had done the franchise in Montgomery. And so I was a big believer in that process, the support that a franchise offered. But I couldn't really find anything that felt like the perfect fit, that offered what I considered a great workout, which was a combination workout, which didn't cause you to get bored, where you're not doing the same thing. And really all the franchises that were out there want you just to commit to one individual discipline. So my now husband, Chad, really encouraged me just to do what I wanted to do, like what I wanted to see in a workout. He was like, why don't you just do your own thing and create your own method and go from there? And I was like, no, I'm really, again, big believer in the franchise support system and how that works. And he was like, Mandy, I think, no, then let's do that. Like, you create your own thing and let's grow it. And I said, okay. And so that was how it came about, how 315 was born. So I honestly continued selling pharmaceuticals that whole first year of the when we opened the studio. So I kind of was doing both. And for the first year, juggling with the 4 kids, the new marriage, the new business. And then when we decided to open the second studio, that's when I decided to retire from the pharmaceutical industry. So I definitely think so much of my business acumen and sense comes from being in corporate America so long, which has helped so much with how 315 has done. Obviously, the place that we created is about fitness, but we do also have a really large retail area as well, where we sell Lululemon, UltraCore, we have a lot of retail, which is unusual for a lot of fitness studios to have the amount that we do. Lululemon, I will back up and say, they got behind us right at the beginning and really have been instrumental in the support that they have offered us and the relationship that I have with them. I'm so grateful for, and it just happened organically, which I'm again grateful for that. And it's been interesting at all the people that have fallen into place. Our interior designer that does all of our work for us, she had just moved here from California after doing way bigger jobs, doing things for Sugar Paper and designing all of their studios. And she fell in love with 315 and just said, hey, I want to be involved in this and somehow. And Preston Adair, who we mentioned a minute ago, we were friends way back when we lived in Montgomery. She's in Tuscaloosa, runs the Tuscaloosa studio, because that was our 3rd studio that we opened in January. And our worlds just kind of came back together, and she has done an amazing job leading her team down there. And at the end of the day, I think that's why it has been so successful. It is a place where we really encourage people and inspire them to do their best, work hard, but it's just as much a mental workout and a mental experience as it is a physical experience. But that's what's so great for the clients, but the people that have come on board that we've been able to hire, those instructors that are there, the people that have been able to grow and have a larger part of the business and taken on bigger roles, I should say. It's just been amazing to watch their growth and how blessed I've been to have the people that have stepped in to want to grow and take a risk on me as well, because I'm very much a visionary and very much say, grab my hand and just trust me. And so many of those have done that are now, like I said, have bigger roles with us. I mean, that's one thing that I will say I do pride myself in, is I am good at picking people. I don't necessarily want people to have experience. I love to be able to look a little deeper into somebody and recognize the potential that they have, and then foster that and help them grow and watch them become something that they weren't. It's very rewarding personally as it is professionally as well. So in my role as the owner, it is rewarding on so many different levels. I still teach almost every day. I teach, and I enjoy that aspect of it so much. So I'm not only getting to be a cheerleader, like I said earlier, for all those people, where this place that I wanted to create, I wanted it to be a safe space for people where they looked forward to coming to work out. Now, it is not easy. It's probably one of the hardest workouts out there, but that's good, because you're getting to push yourself and you're getting to discover that you're capable, like I said, of more. And a lot of the people that come into our doors didn't grow up playing sports, didn't grow up exercising regularly. And they just haven't had anybody push them hard enough where they've had to make that decision. Am I going to keep pushing towards this, or am I not going to? And a lot of it is just because they haven't tried. So it's a really rewarding experience from that as the instructor to be able to watch our clients grow. But then as the owner and the leader of all of the studios, it's also really fun to watch my employees grow and professionally as well. And I mentioned
I want to stop here for just 1 second
okay.
because and dig a little bit more deeply into that, because I love that not only are you building a place that is encouraging your clients to like see more in themselves, but you're also doing that with your employees. And you told me how you a lot of times hired people that did not have prior experience, and I wanted you to go into that a little bit.
So I would say I hire, well, it's almost a lot of people, that is not how they hire. They want experience.
Mm-hmm.
For me, it's much easier what I've learned to mold somebody who doesn't already have those habits from somewhere else,
Mm-hmm.
and that comparison of somewhere else. So for me, I hire more on personality, because that's personality you can't teach. I can teach you how to teach a class. I can't teach you how to have personality.
Yeah.
And so that's what I don't know. I'm very different in that. And a lot of people, like I said, would not agree with that. That's not the path that they take. We've had such little turnover. I mean, and but it's a place that people want to be. I mean, it's fun. It's not work. I mean, it's work, but it doesn't really feel like work. I get to wear exercise clothes and work out and hang out with people I would consider my friends.
Yeah. Well, so you can tell that that's just a huge part of who you are as a business and a person. When you were deciding to make the shift, did you have somebody that was doing this for you? I mean, was it a hard decision to, I mean, I know like having gone through a divorce and then moving to a new town, deciding to start your own business, did you have somebody in your life that was saying yes? I mean, I know a lot of the people on the call have heard me tell the story a million times about me having that gut feel that I needed to make a change, but there were so many people that really, because they loved me, they were no other reason, were like, no, you don't need to do that. That's a lot, try to keep things as stress-free as possible. But then to have somebody, Lauren, there were a number of women in Birmingham that just looked at me and were like, absolutely, like you can do this. Like,
yeah, it's funny. Yes, I did. And it's my husband, Chad. I mean, he was my biggest cheerleader about me doing this. My sister also, she's a dreamer as well. So she was very encouraging. But there were also people that were on the other team that were like, you don't want to, I mean, how many fitness studios are there already? Like you just need to like stay in the pharmaceutical world where, the golden handcuffs is what we used to always call it. And even my husband would say when we were doing this, not to make it about finances, but he is a financial advisor. So a lot of things are about finances when it comes to him. Yeah. But he would say, I want you to do this because it's what you want to do and where your heart is, but it's never going to replace your like you're never going to make as much money doing this as you did selling pharmaceuticals, which the way that I am built on the inside is nothing's going to drive me to work harder and be better than if you tell me I can't do it. So it was just that, so we've proved him wrong. Like we're about to open a 4th studio in Huntsville. We are franchising. So like that's all happening. That's all happened in the past couple of months, where we are talking with several people all over the country about taking 315 somewhere else. And that was my goal for it from the beginning, was to grow it into something bigger. But he's not as much of a dreamer as I am. And again, so it's funny because like I said, he was so encouraging, but I've also had to grab his hand and say, you're just gonna have to trust me on this. Like, you're just gonna have to trust that I know what I'm doing, because it is, for instance, getting to the point where you can franchise, where you have to have all those documents, is a huge financial investment that you have to do. And that it's just a big risk where I'm putting all my money on black and hoping that one day it pays off. But I think that it will, because what we do is something different. It's not just a cycle studio. It's not just a bar studio. It's not just strength work. It is, I can't tell you how many people say, this is the only place that I've stuck with this long. And it's because it is ever changing. We're able to grow. We're not married to one discipline that ebbs and flows, where people get over it, come back, get over it. Our people stay with us and stick with us. And obviously I'm a big cheerleader for 315 and want to get the tattoo soon. So I'm
Well, I love that. And I think, you speak to something a lot of times in the investment world, we talk about the concept of risk tolerance and what that looks like and how it's different for every single person. I mean, we all come to the table when we look at our finances with different upbringings, different financial, like current financial situations, things that we're planning for in the future. And so it's, I know I can say in our private practice, I see this play out a lot where, not only are we like helping people make financial decisions, we're also walking them through that concept of risk tolerance. And some people just naturally are more risk averse and some people are more risk seekers. And it's interesting to see like what you're talking about being in a marriage, because that happens all the time where you have one that makes the safer choices and one that wants to push outside of the comfort zone. And it's really cool to watch those two things come together, because it's like you get to push while the other one's like, but hold on, let me make sure I put all the stuff in place. So that's interesting to hear that. And so now as you've moved forward though, y'all kept moving forward as a team, what was like the deciding factor to move forward with the franchising?
um I don't know that it was just always my plan. It was from the beginning, that was the plan, was to grow it, grow it, grow it. And I think because I spent so much time in corporate America in that world, that I love the growth process and I love to watch something grow, bloom, blossom, all of that. So I not that I wouldn't be content with one studio, but I mean, my husband will also tell you, it's hard for me to be content in the same place. Like I need to always have my hands in something. And so this allows me to continue to have my hands in something and grow. And I'll come back to one of my favorite things is being able to continue to find people, work with those people, help them grow. And so this just allows me to continue on my journey as well professionally, and not just having one studio, if that makes sense.
No, 100%. Okay, and shifting gears a little bit, you talked about how yesterday when we had our pre-call about that concept of kind of looking back about some of the harder things that have happened in your life personally and professionally, like those closed doors and how they led you to where you are now, and how kind of looking back you can appreciate the closed doors for the good that they brought. I'd love for you to share a little bit about that.
Well, I will say, yes. I mean, sadly, never an advocate of divorce, but sadly, none of this, we would not be having this conversation if I were still married and not in Birmingham. So I also don't know that even if I wouldn't have ended up with Chad, my husband, and I didn't have him as my cheerleader, if we would be having this conversation. So many things had to fall into place like they did in order for this to happen. But I'm a believer in God, and I'm a believer that He will open those doors and shut those doors. And He did that. I mean, when we moved, like I said, I've always taught. So when I moved to Birmingham, I was taking classes at another studio, talked to them about teaching, and it just never came to fruition. Had I started teaching there, we probably wouldn't be having this conversation, because that probably would have filled that little hole in my bucket that I needed to have that part of my life going. And now would my life have been probably a whole lot simpler if I were just teaching somewhere and had my job, my cushy little pharmaceutical job? Yes, but like, that's not where my heart was. That's not my purpose. That's not why I'm here. I mean, I can say wholeheartedly, I'm living out my purpose. And I say that to my clients as well when I'm teaching. That doesn't mean you have to quit your job and do your job as your purpose, but you still need to identify your purpose and figure out what that is and make sure you're living it out, whether it's your job or not your job. I just am fortunate enough that it is my job that I get to do. That is my purpose.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. I mean, that is, you know, for me to have gone from practicing law to doing what I'm doing now, whether it's during the day in our wealth management group or with the Wealth Edit, you know, I have said repeatedly, even though it's definitely been the harder road to travel, it has been, it's instead of like taking away my life because it's been harder, it's actually given life.
Right.
You know, it's a life-giving type thing for me. And so, you know, we encourage women all the time. I mean, you know, if you are feeling like stuck in your job and like you're not doing what you're called to do, you know, to start getting a team around you of, you know, women that you respect, men that you respect, that will speak truth into you and help you brainstorm and come up with, hey, what are you feeling called to do and how can we make that happen? And you know, I will say it has been really, really life changing for me. And I could say that I wouldn't be here right now had my husband not died. Now, like to your point, you would never advocate for divorce. I certainly wish that things had gone differently.
Right.
But at the same time, I can see that, wow, all these parts of my life have been used for good. And, you know, now we keep moving forward. And just as an encouragement, you know, I think women need to hear that and need to hear encouragement. So,
And what I always say too, like when we're gone one day, because we're all going to be gone, like what's your impact that you've left here? Like, what did you do that's going to continue to live on? And how did you make things better? And to your point about being encouraging, I don't think also we recognize the gravity, or like how the impact our words can have both positively and negatively on people, especially women. That because I have a lot of confidence, and I mean, I know that about myself. So which I think plays into why I'm a little more able to take those risks. For someone who doesn't have that level of self-confidence, it's extremely difficult for them to take those risks, and not having somebody in their corner who can encourage them and tell them they can. And sometimes it is as simple as being told, yeah, you actually can do this. You can do that. I mean, you can do this. And just hearing it from somebody else is enough to make you have that confidence to do it. So I agree with you wholeheartedly on that we just need to recognize how impactful our words can be in helping support, especially, I mean, males and females, but especially females as well.
yeah. And I see too, it's like also I've watched this with myself and I'd love to hear your take on this. You know, whether it is me, you know, let's say I've just had a baby and have been covered up and not leaving the house and all that. And all of a sudden I decide, okay, I'm going to like commit to exercising and getting back in shape. And so I go to the studio and I begin getting back in shape and I'm surrounding myself with other women who are encouraging. And to me, I love that like confidence begets more confidence. So it's like oftentimes just whatever it is that you're feeling led to do, whether it's to get back in shape, eat more healthy, understand your finances, how that confidence is like a snowball. Because if you're feeling more confident about yourself, just personally, then you're going to feel more confident in taking that next step
Correct.
into whatever it is. So just start somewhere. I think
Yes.
so often women feel stuck, and it doesn't have to be like all of a sudden you need to be in shape, eating well, your finances are in order, you know, your kids are whatever it is. It doesn't have to be all or nothing. It can be just take that one next step that puts you on that forward trajectory.
Yeah, and to your point about coming into the studio, that is because we have a handful of men, but it's probably 98% women in our classes. So, and a lot of them are that demographic. They're a young mom, and a lot of my employees are the same way. Those young mothers who, life is just hard when you have littles. It is hard. It's hard for you to carve out even an hour for yourself, but I really, 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 really try to commend them on taking that hour for themselves, because I say all the time, you can't pour from an empty cup. And it doesn't mean you have to come to 315. Maybe it's a walk that you take every day for an hour, but something that allows your mind and things to just escape for a second, where you don't have your phone, where you don't have little people pulling on you, whatever that is, find it and reward yourself with that, because that's just it's like putting on your oxygen mask before you put on your children's oxygen mask. Like, you have to carve out a little bit of time for yourself so that you can fill that cup back up. So then you can in turn fill out the others around you. So yeah, whatever it is, find it.
Find it. Yep. Okay, so as we wrap up our call, I'll ask you what we ask all of our Wealth Edit guests is, why did you say yes to the Wealth Edit this morning?
Um, well, I love sharing my story. It's not the one that when I was a little girl, I would have, it's that not my fairy tale that I got a divorce and got remarried and that it looks like that, but it's my story. And um, I love that I get to share it, and that hopefully, like I said, maybe there's somebody that sees this, that it offers them enough encouragement to make that step to do something bigger. So I thank you for having me on here and letting me share my story.
Absolutely. Anytime. Well, Mandy, thank you so much for being here today. And if people want to find the studio and figure out how they can take a class, where would you tell them to go?
So they can either go to 315studio.com and you spell out the word three and it's the number 15, or you can just download the app in the App Store, and all of our classes are there for Tuscaloosa. And then there's a Homewood studio and then one downtown Birmingham as well, and then Huntsville.
All right. Well, thank you, Mandy. We appreciate it.
Thank
Thanks,
you.
everybody, for coming. Have a great day.